Ghosty fam, Amy here. Welcome to The Activity Continues, a podcast where three soul friends talk about all things paranormal. Ghosts, hauntings, psychics, movies and TV shows, especially The Dead Files, and other spooky and spooky adjacent things. We also like to interview people in the paranormal community, as well as past Dead Files clients and other interesting people. Sometimes we even tell your stories. I hope you enjoy the show.
Okay.
So I think we're ready to start. We're ready to jump right in.
Let's jump right in. An hour later.
Okay. I'll do the countdown.
Okay.
Oh, wait, hang on.
Oh.
Okay. All right,
Ready?
here we go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us again. We are on the second episode in our Chili Chats series, where we each choose a Dead Files episode that takes place in a colder weather location to help get our minds off the heat of summer. This week's choice is called Dark Inheritance. It is from season 3, and according to Max, it's number 14, which was the season finale. But then AP reports that it is number 13 on the Travel Channel and on the on-demand. And then I went to Hulu, which I suspected was the same as Travel on Demand, and it is also number 13 there. And then on Hulu, they go all the way up to 18 episodes that season, and they are missing the Q&A episode. So it is all just a big cluster fuck.
Correct.
Yeah.
That tracks. Yeah.
So Megan chose this one for this week's Chili Chat, so we will let her tell you why she chose it and anything else we might need to warn you about.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. So I chose this simply for the fact that it takes place in Massachusetts, and I love the accent from the East Coast and Massachusetts and Jersey and New York and all those really cool accents that I don't have because I'm from Minnesota. And we talk like this. Yeah. Oh, for cute.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I chose it. It actually ended up being a really, really good episode.
It was.
But I did not know that going in. I was just like, oh my God, they talk so cool. So that's what it was. Content warnings. We've got a botched abortion causing death, dismemberment, horrible mother. And I also added talk of child abuse, talk of suicide. And as always, please check the show notes before listening. If you are worried about specific things, we do this content warning at the top of the episode. So, there might be things that we talk about further in the episode that aren't in this content warning, and Amy will add those into the show notes. So please make sure to check those if you have any concerns.
Yep. All right. Housekeeping.
Housekeeping. Yeah. My chili recipe, I grabbed from allrecipes.com because I love their website. I've done a lot of recipes from allrecipes.com, and they're always really good. And it's called the best damn chili. So with a title like that, I don't know how you cannot.
It's got to be good.
It's got to be good. We've had this discussion in our chat. I am strongly anti-bean in my chili. And as most things AP and I butt heads on, is like
I am strongly beans.
She is
in chili.
All the beans.
I am more beans than meat. I could do a vegetarian chili as long as it has beans in it.
Yep.
No.
I'll bring a vegetarian chili recipe for next week that can also be edited for others.
Good.
But yeah,
well then I'll give all my beans to the Amy.
Do you, Megan, do you not like beans at all? Or do you just not like them in chili?
I don't like beans at all.
Okay.
I don't like them at all. I'm trying to like them more because they're super high in protein
and fiber
and fiber, and they're really good for you. But I just like baked beans. Gross.
I love baked
beans. Gross me out.
We have a delicious recipe for baked beans that my mom just made yesterday. It's a Famous Dave's recipe, actually. Adds grilled steak, sausage, bacon, jalapenos, other peppers, onions, and barbecue sauce.
Gordon Ramsay himself
so good.
Could serve me baked beans, and I would say, Gordon, I'm sorry, but it's a no.
Oh, I like them. I don't like them when they're too sweet. I don't like the canned baked beans that are super sweet.
Such a weird texture. Like, ugh.
See, I don't think I have a texture issue with food. I sure do. Rarely don't like something because of texture. the only reason I say rarely is because I've tried 4 different ways of preparation, octopus, and I can't do it because it tastes like I'm chewing on hard rubber bands.
Yep, because it's gross.
And but the one time I had it where I kind of liked it, it was in a really good sauce. So I liked that, and it was grilled. It was at a Korean
we should
barbecue.
have Gordon Ramsay make you octopus and see if you'd like it then.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I would try it.
Gordon Ramsay is making me baked beans that I will refuse to eat. And now he's making Amy octopus that she will eat. AP, what would you like Gordon Ramsay to cook for you?
Can I get the beef Wellington, please?
Oh, that's a good one.
I'd rather have that than octopus.
No, it's not up for debate.
Oh,
so good. Okay, we should probably move on before we get into food chat, which is a whole nother level.
God. AP and I went nuts on that last week. I want to mention one more thing about the show related. I have gone back and made some tweaks to some of our more recent episodes to include chapter markers so people can jump around and if they don't want to listen to the rest of the conversation of that, like AP and I talked for, it's felt like forever. It was like 6 minutes when I actually got done with it. I'm like, what? Someone can't sit around for 6 minutes about color coding in documents.
Oh my God, that is the most YouTube conversation.
Oh my God, wait till you hear it. I can put it up for you.
Send
early
it for
if
me.
you want. It's actually it's on Patreon now, so you can hear it.
Okay.
But yeah, and AP even said, "Oh my God, people are going, this is the most boring fucking conversation I've ever heard." And I said, "But you know what? There are people out there that are going, oh my God, me too. Yeah. I'm like that too." So I did leave most of it in. But
Amy and AP conversation.
I know.
If ever there was
nerded out about colored markers and lip balm
for
all sorts of stuff.
I did hear the lip balm one.
Yeah, it was fun. So anyway, I put chapter markers in. So if anybody's listening to us and you don't if you're not doing it on like a Janet, I left her plugged in, so I can't say her real name, but you know who
Alexa.
Yeah. Hopefully she doesn't learn how to spell.
Damn it, Janet.
But if you're listening on a speaker like that, you can't obviously do that. Maybe you could say skip and it would go to the next one. I don't know. But if you're
Alexa, because I don't have one and her headphones are plugged in.
Yeah.
I have two, but they're not down here. So
okay. Yeah.
It's an Alexa.
Do you call her Janet because of
Rocky Horror Picture Show?
No. What was the show on?
The Good Place.
Yes, that one.
The Good Place.
I knew exactly. I was like, because Janet is
Janet.
Yeah.
Whenever they'd say Janet, she'd pop up. No, that's not why I called her that.
Oh.
I called it from the good, because the Good Place that was their AI. Their was her name was Janet. She was a real person. Digby needs to go potty, of course.
I started something.
Someone else is gonna have to take you,
Greg.
But guess what? There's not anyone else because Greg's in a meeting right now.
Ugh, rude.
It's not my fault you wouldn't go out because it was raining. It's really not my fault. Okay. Well, I'm gonna try and let it go.
Okay.
We'll see if he really starts reacting. I'll just have to go and you guys can keep going. And
sure.
Okay, so Megan is going to lead this one because it is Megan's choice. And so shall we do the overview?
Megan's going to lead this. And
you know what? I will take him out while you do the overview because I don't
Okay.
have to hear that part. And I read it already. So,
Okay.
Take it away.
1, 2, 3, go. Okay. Overview. Cynthia and her husband Nicholas bought Cynthia's childhood home. She had experiences as a child, but it's nothing compared to what is happening now. They've had noises, tapping, banging, they've seen shadow figures, etc. But all of that pales in comparison to what her son Nathaniel is going through. Being on the spectrum, Cynthia is very concerned about what is happening to him. He's been scratched deeply and his whole personality has changed. From a bubbly, outgoing kid to a quiet and reserved individual who doesn't ever want to leave home, Cynthia and Nicholas fear what else their son will have to endure. Digging through old records, Steve uncovers a gruesome case from 1905 with all the taboos from the early 20th century. A woman on her own without a husband who gets pregnant out of wedlock, a botched abortion, and gruesome remains. Will Cynthia and Nicholas be able to save Cynthia's childhood home from the spirits that torment her family? Will they be able to reclaim the property and live a life without fear, or will the activity continue? This was a really good episode.
It was. And I messaged Amy during it, like, feel like, as we'll get into, that this was a mommy dearest episode.
Yeah. Oh, I felt so bad for Cynthia as we learned more and more about her childhood and just what she said in the reveal, what Amy said in the reveal, and what Nicholas said in the reveal about the it was bad. I felt so bad for them.
Yeah. I can't wait for Amy to get back in here. I mean, I know she's got to get her poop out.
Yeah. They had to go potty.
Yeah. No,
Diggers.
This was definitely an interesting one. And just even watching some of the way that they talked about different things too. And I kind of related a little bit of the son to my aunt who has passed away. She I
saw that.
She was, I think she nearly died 3 times before she was 5. She was a blue baby.
Oh, you told me about her when we were on the way to, and that's why we drank.
And she, so she definitely had some.
Okay, stop talking about her.
Dang it.
Just kidding. We can't hear you. You're muted.
That is what I call an Austin Powers pee. He was peeing that entire time.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Yep, Bodhi does that too.
Yeah, because it was raining today.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to get his princess toes wet. So he wouldn't go outside. And
Speaking
so when he has
of
to
bougie,
go, he has to go. Yeah. And then he gave me enough time to go get a beer.
Nice of him. Get a beer.
A beer. My friend, one of my friends that came over this weekend said, I asked what kind of beer he wanted. And I was actually asking his girlfriend. And she said, oh, he says, whatever Magnum PI would drink in the shower. So we got premium. We were going to get hams, but apparently they don't have hams at Liquor Depot.
That's really funny.
Otherwise, the champagne of beers would have been the other one to go with.
Yeah.
Was that Richard by chance?
Yes, it was Richard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did the overview. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is Amy's arrival. And I think we all want to talk about that because even getting into, I mean, I've never before or since this episode seen her react as strongly as she was. I mean, before she's been like, I feel sick, my head hurts, you know, but she was sobbing, pulling up to this.
Yeah.
She wasn't even on the property yet.
Right. In the car. And she was like, oh my God.
Crying.
She's so
sick.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. I was tearing up. It was hard, really hard to watch being an empath. I was like, no, Amy.
Yeah.
So sad.
I just said, I am glad that I don't have these kinds of abilities. Like there are days where you're just like, oh, it'd be so cool to have some of these like ways to talk with my guides and those kinds of things. I'm okay. I don't need this kind of, I don't want it. No, thank you.
Yeah. Look what it's done to her. I mean,
so yeah, I just thought that was, and she's that way like through the whole episode. I mean, it's not like she gets there and she's like, okay, I'm fine now. Like,
no.
There's a part kind of midway through where she can't even talk. She's crying so hard. And
it's really awful.
It's really bad.
And those maybe who haven't watched it or just listening to us, like Amy talks about where she opens and everything. And it's like, she's in the car before she's not even outside of the vehicle and things
I think
are
they're
happening.
still driving to it. Like, they're not even there yet.
Moving.
Yeah. And, you know, she said the dead know I'm coming before I do. And she said a lot of times they'll reach out. And so, you know, that's what happened. And
they're desperate to have their story told, she says.
So then Cynthia talks about how her son is called the mayor. And
yeah, I have a funny story. Well, I don't know how funny it is. I think it's funny. And it was this was a long time ago when we used to go to this bar called Chino Latino, which is not there anymore. And
which is a shame.
It was a really fun place. And Greg and I used to go there a lot, like at least once a week. And we knew the bartenders and we knew the regulars and all that. Well, Greg was out of town and my friend Anne came over and we went to Chino Latino for happy hour. You walk in and all the people are there like, hey, Amy, hey. And I'm like, hi, say hi. Here's my friend Anne, da, da, da. We sit down and she goes, Jesus Christ, do you know everybody? Are you running for mayor?
Clearly, she'd never been out with you before because you do know everybody.
Well, I just thought it was, I'd never heard
That's
that
funny.
like as a way of like describing someone who knows everyone. Are you running for mayor? So when then she said that, they call her son the little mayor.
The little mayor.
I was like,
he was so outgoing.
Oh, AP had a little something about the son.
Yeah, we get this all the time. Every time that there's a teenager and they're starting to get moody and they're starting to have personality changes and they're not my little boy anymore or my little girl. Just always that edge of skepticism that does need to play in of they are a teenager. There's crap that's probably going on at school and other stuff that can also be playing, not discounting what was going on, but know that is going to play a factor. And that's why these things will also attack at this kind of age because they're defenseless. And, at this point, she tells us that he's on the autism spectrum, but we don't know, verbal, nonverbal, level of, interaction kind of thing.
Yeah. And I noticed that too. He is in the show later on, but right now, like AP said, all they've said is he's on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Yes.
One thing I noticed that was very, interesting was that both Cynthia and her husband Nicholas mentioned having a Catholic priest come out and bless the house, which great to do, but that only works on like demons, and it doesn't always work. So doing the answer to everything isn't to have a priest come out and bless the house. That won't. I mean, if you want to do it, great. I'm not saying you can't do it, but it most likely won't work because most of the time you don't have literal demons.
Yeah. I think, didn't Amy Allan say at some point that you have to, if you're trying to get rid of an entity, you have to do something that is their belief.
Yeah.
So if you have, if it's a Native American that's doing that, you have to bring out a shaman or somebody from their tribe or whatever. And if you have a demon, you have to bring a Catholic priest.
What the hell are we going to do when they have atheists that are ghosts?
Mediums?
They don't believe in anything.
I think at that point, though, you would be able to have a medium just move them along. Be like,
well, if a atheist is a ghost, he has to at least believe in ghosts, right?
But do you believe in? I mean, I don't know.
But I don't know if it's. This is a conundrum.
This is a conundrum. But do you?
I always called myself an atheist, but I still believed in ghosts. Now I wouldn't say I'm an atheist. I would, because that's a little harsh. It's a little stronger than what I believe.
Agnostic.
I would say agnostic. Yes, I think there's something there. I don't think it's an old man that's sitting on a cloud, but I think it's something. I think it's more like a force. But I believe there's something out there.
Okay, but we're gonna get deep here. To me, when I think of believing in something, it's more of like a spiritual thing, like a power. To me, believing in ghosts isn't the same thing. Am I wrong in that?
So I'll tell you what Greg says.
So like an atheist, if like an atheist doesn't believe in a spirit, can they still, I feel like they can still believe in ghosts. I don't feel like they're connected.
Well, the reason I struggled with it is if I don't believe that there is a higher power, and I think when you're dead, you're dirt, just like you were before you were born, then you can't believe in ghosts. And that was always hard for me because I did believe in ghosts because I'd seen them.
Well, because matter can neither be created nor destroyed. So
throw that at Greg. Skeptic.
And that's science. Like you can't just create something out of nothing. It has to, like, even though we'll say like you made that out of nothing, well, you still actually had to take parts of something and put them together. And then it's same with, that's where the whole ashes to ashes, dust to dust aspect comes back into play with all that.
But if the Big Bang happened, isn't that making something out of nothing?
No, all matter at that point in time is believed to have been kept in something, the tiniest little, like the size of a period of a 12-point font. That's what all matter believed it or started in.
Interesting.
And then all matter came through there because even, we're part stars at times because of everything that's there with the Big Bang.
Interesting.
You drink dinosaur pee.
That's what I do every day.
I mean, that's kind of what this tastes like.
And at some
It
point,
is beer. So
at some point, water went
and
through
low quality
something.
beer. Yep.
Well, there's
premium
also
is good.
It's not bad.
Don't diss my grain
for
belt.
a refreshing summer beer, it's not bad at all.
I'm not a huge beer drinker.
Isn't there? I'm not either. If I'm gonna drink beer,
I don't think I've ever seen you drink beer in the almost 10 years I've known you.
I normally don't.
Honestly, I don't think I've ever
seen you drink a can of White Russian, I'd grab that, but I don't.
Yeah, you guys haven't had your Rebel.
I know. I still have some of that in the fridge.
Thinking that. Oh my God.
I still have some in the fridge. Connected. After I had the other hard coffee drinks, I didn't like Rebel anymore. Rebel tasted like candy to me, and I like the other ones better. And now they don't make them anymore.
Which ones were those again? The Irish?
The Cafe Agave, the one that you didn't like that you gave me. Yeah. I liked those. And then there was another one.
They don't make those anymore?
I can't find them. I can't even find, I go search on the internet. It don't exist.
Really?
Yeah. And then there was another one that I really liked, but I don't remember what it was called.
Really?
But it was really good. No, I can't find any of them anymore.
That's sad.
Can't find any hard coffees anymore.
That's sad.
Whatever. Anyway, back to the task at hand.
Anyway, back to priests and Catholicism.
Yeah. Back to, can we talk about why the hell did Cynthia buy this house?
Yes, we can. We can talk about whatever you want to.
She didn't buy it though.
She did.
Yes, she did.
She did. She bought it after.
That's why her mom got so pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see. Yeah. I was gonna say no. She got it from her mom, but I forgot that her mom didn't want. Yeah, she
said when I bought the house, she was very upset.
Yeah,
and
I
that
thought
was
she said when I got the house. I wasn't thinking that she actually went through the process of buying it just like anybody else.
You stole my house from me was what her mom had said because her mom had to go into hospice or something. Something happened.
Yeah, and she wasn't able to live there.
She didn't have good memories here. And she talks about some of the stuff that happened when she was a kid and why.
Maybe she had good memories from her dad. We don't hear about much about her dad. It's all mom focused.
It's all mommy dearest.
My thought is that she probably had good memories with her dad.
Yeah.
And she was trying to hold on to those. Or maybe she wanted to put new memories into it.
Or low market value.
Yeah.
She
could afford
curious.
It.
Mm-hmm.
So this episode came out in 2013? 2012?
2014. January 31st, 2014.
And how long did they say they had been in the house?
I didn't think they
years,
did.
I want to say.
Right, which
just a couple of years.
The housing crash was 2008, 2009?
2008 to 9.
Mm-hmm. So wonder if she ended up having to buy it out from her mom because of that. I don't know. All speculation.
Yeah. But yeah, I wondered maybe he had good memories from her dad.
Maybe.
But speaking of
or good school district.
Or a good school district.
That's a big
huge.
Thing.
That's huge.
Yeah. Huge.
So then we're back to Amy and she has an old lady she watches. And so let me go back to my notes. Yeah, this is the mean old lady that she sees. So she says she is angry and bitter and resentful. And when this lady was alive, she was distant and cold. She said she hates humanity in general. And she had to hide that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she says she has a long, spindly neck and skeleton legs.
Yeah.
I honestly thought, I was shocked she didn't draw that.
I know.
Because she references her being very big several times.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought for sure that would be a drawing, but it wasn't. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think right before we see some of this with Amy, we hear Cynthia and Steve as he's talking to her about the house and her mom, her dad. He passed in 95.
Mm-hmm.
And then, her mom passed in the nursing home. And like we said, when she bought the house, she was very upset, left her a message. Steve's like, but it's her daughter. Why wouldn't you want her to have the house?
Mm-hmm.
And just, I made a note, just Cynthia seemed very hesitant in giving some, like, she kind of thought about her answers. And Steve's like, yeah, but it's her daughter. She's like, well, she made it quite clear that she didn't want me to have it. Well, didn't you get along with your mom? Well, she was a very irritable type person, had a really bad temper.
Yeah.
Like,
so she
all
never
of that says no, and that she was verbally and emotionally abusive.
Yes.
And that to this day, she was afraid of speaking out against her mom.
Yeah. And she said that a couple times later when I think it was in the reveal when her, one of them said, something about her. Cynthia made a comment about her mom, and her husband jumped back with something else, and she was like, I was trying to be nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, you could tell she didn't want to say what she really felt.
In the reveal, she walks away for a second, and Steve says something like, well, you don't seem surprised. And he goes, yeah. He was like, I saw that bitch. Like,
yeah.
That's what
she treated her family like shit. Like, that's what he said. I mean, paraphrasing, but
yeah. And so then the way that's cut with Amy then talking about this old lady, it's very evident that we are seeing mommy.
Mom. Yep.
And
Mommy dearest.
Yep. Mommy dearest. And it's like, I think she sounds awful. Like, I feel like she's a person that we can all find to relate to, that we're like, they're not in our life anymore. They were either a movie villain or a real life villain, that this is this woman.
Yeah. Yeah. The fact that Amy said that she hates all of humanity.
Yeah.
Is like, and she said she hated that in life. It's not like dying is what made her bitter. Like, she was like this in life.
Right. And I just wrote sociopath because I was like, this sounds like a sociopath.
And my thought was, this is why not everybody should have children. This is why we shouldn't push people to have kids, because some people would not be good parents.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
That doesn't make them bad people. This one it does, but so that's a whole other podcast topic. But not everybody needs to have children to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
Male, woman, or other.
Absolutely.
I'm done. One other thing I did want to touch on too. Sorry, there's two things. In the beginning, which I skipped this, but Amy got jumped, and she got jumped pretty hard. And from what I understood, it was a pretty long time that she was jumped.
Yeah.
So if you're new or
like
you haven't watched the show or anything, being jumped is basically what Amy calls when a spirit enters her body. And so she was jumped by a spirit. We find out who later, but we don't know now. And so this was a really tough walk for her, I think. And it was, she struggled with it.
Yep. And don't worry, we have Steve for comedic relief and asking if anybody's taking medications to have weird dreams or anything like that.
You boozing?
Well, actually, I took some acid last night. I mean, is that?
I had an Ambien. I had an Ambien,
Roseanne.
and I downed it with a Manhattan.
Jack. And then I made some racist tweets, but I think that was the Ambien.
Oh.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Anything else about the mean woman or Amy being jumped?
No.
And then another thing I wanted to touch on is the whole reason I feel like they called was because their son Nathaniel, who we've talked about, he's 14, he's on the spectrum, and they feel like everything is kind of aiming at him. He actually doesn't sleep in his bedroom anymore. He switched with Cynthia and Nicholas because of everything that was happening in the bedroom. He was too scared to sleep in there.
Yeah. And when we see Amy talking about this, she talks about the old lady liking this area. And it's, a spot that I think it was actually Nathaniel's original room, which is why he moved. She wants to freak people out and make them leave, not come in here. She's proud of inflicting pain. And I'm like, she's proud of tormenting her grandson.
Well,
remember,
she tormented her own children.
Yes.
Yeah, Nicholas. Yeah, that too. But Nicholas said that mom, grandma, actually told him one time that she preferred their dogs to the children.
Yeah, that was in the reveal. Yeah.
So I'm like, well, of course, if she was
I
that
do too, but I want to say that out loud.
I know.
And you don't have kids.
I know.
Like,
I'm sure I would love my own children or grandchildren.
Yes.
And I like other people's children because they go away after a while.
You hand them back when they cry.
Saying that about kids in general and your own children.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
and especially when
monster.
Yeah. And Amy's, when she says she's inflicting pain, and Matt's like, what kind of pain? Scratches. Oh, great. That's exactly what we've been hearing about what's happening to Nathaniel.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they have a picture of Nathaniel's. It's like a 8-inch long scratch on his arm. And it's deep. Like, you know how some of them, they show you pictures and you're straining to see. Not this. This was a long red scratch. It was like all down his forearm, essentially.
Yeah. And then mom told about how he also had one that was on his leg. That went from like his groin all the way down to his leg. So,
Yep. Yeah. And then they talk about, again, bringing in, they've done several priest blessings. And I was just like, do you think at this point it's just pissing off whatever is causing it? Like, you just keep bringing this in and now you're just challenging it to do more because obviously it's not working that way.
But one thing that I put, and I don't know if I can put it into words, but like, I feel so bad for them because it's like they can't accept that the priest isn't working. So it's like, Nathaniel even says, everything to me is black and white, angels and demons, good and bad. And in my mind, I'm like,
the dad that said that.
What did I say?
Nathaniel.
Oh, sorry. Yes, it was Nicholas.
Yeah,
yes, it was Nicholas, the dad. And I'm just like, okay, but there's like other religions, other entities, other spirits, other choose your word here.
Right.
So, but to me, I don't think they were doing it out of like, I think that's just their belief is so firm that they're like, well, this has to fix it. And if it can't fix it, then it's not fixable.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that made sense, but that's like, it's just like so far out of their possibility that this could be something that, priests and blessings can't fix.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that priests and blessings aren't good. It's just not the right tool.
And they work in the right circumstances.
Yes. It's just not the right tool. It's like trying to hammer a screw in. Yeah. Like they're both good, tools, but together they don't work.
Yeah.
Everybody, that was an analogy I just made up. Just made it up.
Delightful.
All in here. AP's like,
you've been hanging around me too long.
AP's, can you please? This doesn't make sense. It makes sense to me. So, I you can tell that they're so concerned for their other, and they have two other boys or two other kids that we never hear about.
Meet them.
So I don't know if they're not experiencing anything or if it's just like solely focused on Nathaniel.
Were they older and have moved out? Okay.
No, they still live in the house.
There. Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he at the top, he's like, who lives here? She's like, well, it's
It's interesting that I wonder if they did talk to them and it was just cut because we've heard about that happening too.
Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, we don't hear about it. So so then again, we go back to Amy and she's talking about the old lady, the scary old lady, and then Amy says she's a sociopath. So Amy, good for you. You nailed it. Amy gets a prize. AP wrote in our notes, gold star for Amy.
Because I wrote, nailed it.
And you wrote sociopath earlier.
I did.
Yes, she did.
I did. I want to note when Amy is in Nathaniel's room and she's walking around and she says, old lady does weird shit here. Because I think I might want to cut that out and put that as a soundbite for the very beginning, the very intro to the intro.
Yeah.
But yeah, she
All
says she
right.
does weird stuff on the floor. And then is this where she talks about, oh no, it's not this part where she talks about it, where she talks about her sliding down the wall.
No.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, gross.
Okay, so that's the end of segment 1, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Anything else?
I have nothing else.
We just had a quick chat with Nathaniel, and I mean, we learned he's a sweet kid, all of that stuff. And Steve brings out, are you sure it wasn't the cat that scratched you? So,
Steven,
yes, Steve.
get
Never
it
the
together.
dogs.
yes.
A cat's not going to leave an 8-inch scratch on your hand.
No.
I mean, on your arm. Cat
Yep.
scratches are not 8 inches long.
No.
I have a pretty good scar on my arm from my cat, and it goes from here to about here.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I was holding Casey, short for kitty cat, and someone started the vacuum cleaner.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was the year Hocus Pocus came out because we bandaged up and we went out to see Hocus Pocus.
Oh, that was a good movie.
Yep. But at the end of this segment, by the way, the last line that Amy has is she definitely likes screwing with the kid now.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
She wants to kill the mom and then move on to the kid.
Yes. Thanks, Grandma. She wants to
Yeah.
kill
Yeah.
her daughter
Yeah.
Yep.
And
and
then her
fuck with her grandson.
So she can focus on him.
Yeah.
This woman's terrible.
What a peach.
Awful.
Yeah.
Skip the shopping struggle. Get curated outfits picked by stylists who know your taste.
Hey everyone, AP here, and really wanted to talk to you about Wantable, which I love because I hate going to the store to try clothes on. I don't like being in the dressing rooms. The lighting's always bad. The mirrors aren't great. I'd rather try things on in the comfort of my own home. So I use Wantable to treat myself. Go in and select a style edit. Have them send that to me. Get surprised by the different items that might be in there. Some are outside my comfort zone, but it's funny how when I try those on, they end up being some of my most favorite items. I have a handful of items in my wardrobe right now that I have worn several times in the last couple months, and they're going to get continued use. Highly recommend you check out Wantable.
Get $25 off your first order by going to theactivitycontinues.com/wantable. Free shipping and returns. Wantable edits your style. Unleash the power of stories anywhere, anytime with Audible. Immerse yourself in gripping stories, insightful knowledge, and captivating characters anytime, anywhere. Audible is your library on the go. With hundreds of thousands of titles across every genre, there's a world of reading waiting for your ears. Listen while you cook, clean, or commute. Free your eyes to conquer your day, all while feeding your mind. Start your 30-day free trial today and discover the joy of listening. Go to audibletrial.com/TAC. That stands for The Activity Continues. With your free 30-day trial, you get 1 credit, 2 credits if you're a Prime member, good for any premium selection titles you like, yours to keep. You get the Audible Plus catalog of podcasts, audiobooks, guided wellness, and Audible originals. Listen all you want, no credits needed. Again, that is audibletrial.com/TAC.
So next we're moving to segment 2.
Ding-a-ding-a-ding.
Diddle-oo, where we meet Stephen Nadell. He's a genealogist.
Not a gynecologist.
And so he talks about the Belcher family. And I wrote, any relation to Bob Belcher of Bob's Burgers?
Yeah. Later down when Steve goes, so what is the Belcher family? When does the Belcher family get involved? And I'm like, they opened a burger shop?
Yeah, they opened a burger shop. Yeah. Great show, by the way, Bob's Burgers. So this one, they talk about how the Belcher family history. So November of 1635. I did think it was really interesting when Steve, when he started talking about this, is like, it's very rare in my investigations that when I go looking through the archive, they go back like 400 years because we're in Massachusetts. So where everything started. Yeah. So in 1635, John Bill Belcher, that was his full John Bill. They referred to him as John Bill. And his wife immigrated from England. And then by 1690, the family owns most of Pullen Point, which is now today's Winthrop, which is the town we're in. Then we've got in 1697, Hannah Bill marries Joseph Belcher, who it took me a minute. I had to rewind, and I'm like, I thought he was already married, but no, that's his son.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I did
John
that too.
Bill.
Yeah,
has a
I did that
son
too
named
because it was many years
Joseph.
later, and I thought
Yes.
we were talking about it happening back then.
Yeah.
I had to do the math in my head.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then in the mid to late 1800s, about a dozen Belcher children under the age of 4 die.
Mhm.
Actually, most of them are under the age of 3.
Yeah,
under the age
some
of
them are
2.
babies.
I wrote them all down. So we've got David Belcher, age 1, died in 1864 of cholera. Selena Belcher, age 2, almost 3. She was 2 years, 10 months, died of consumption, tuberculosis.
Mm-hmm.
Gertie Belcher at 3 months died. There were no dates for her. It was just the year 1881 cholera. Arthur was 2 months cholera. Jesse, 1 year old, died of hydrophilia, water pressure on the brain. Albro, 1 day old, died the same day as Jesse, who died of hydrophilia, deformation of the head. Archie Belcher was 1 day, 27-month-old, died of cholera. And Helen Mildred was 2 years. She died of inflammation of the brain.
So cholera was easily spread through water.
Mm-hmm.
So that is very, especially with so many of them, half of them passed away from cholera?
And I'm sure they were all in like a small quarters, all sharing water.
Mm-hmm. Well,
even,
even if it was at different times, you still have the same, you still have a water supply that's going through. And actually, I remember doing a class on groundwater, and adding chlorine to water in the early 1900s saved more lives since then than all of the rest of history combined. Jeez. Anything else.
Yeah.
Having anything else, any other advancement at that time, because it killed cholera and other things like that.
Yeah. And I know Amy took a picture of all of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot. And then Amy, do you want to say what your comment was?
Sure. I looked up
hydrocephaly.
Hydrocephaly, but is that the...
So it should be hydrocephaly. That's
what I was saying.
Brain.
Is they wrote it funny. It's or maybe they just called it something different back then. But yeah, deformation of the head, and then it was said hydrophilia is what it said. Water pressure on the brain. And when I looked it up, it's actually now anyway, it's called hydrocephaly.
Yeah, ceph means head, hydro water.
Yeah. Hydrocephalus. Yep. So then I have some links that I will put in the show notes too about that. But it says, what is hydrocephalus? Hydrocephalus is a neurological disorder. This is from Johns Hopkins. No, it's not. It's from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke. What is hydrocephalus? Hydrocephalus is a neurological disorder caused by an abnormal buildup of cerebral spinal fluid in the ventricles cavities deep within the brain. This excess fluid causes the ventricles to widen, putting harmful pressure on the brain's tissues.
Yep.
And then WebMD gave us 3 causes of it.
Well, that's WebMD.
Yeah. Blockage, tumors, cysts, birth defects, brain injury. See, I was trying to find something hinky going on with all these children dying. So I was thinking maybe they were getting clocked in the head.
I don't think it was. I think it was just the time of
maybe
the earth.
Maybe.
Yeah, it depends, using the water well, depending on when all of those deaths were happening. Hydrocephaly, like that can happen in humans. It happens in other mammals as well. And you'll see a large deformation on the skull because cartilaginous, you'll see that pressure kind of push outwards. Some can survive it, but it is fairly common, especially at that point in time, would be pretty fatal.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think there was any abuse. Just
maybe not. That's what I was looking for because it seems so suspicious.
Like it was just a shitty time.
Yep. I mean, easily that, if one of the, a couple of the ones that died when they were very young, traumatic births, very, they get get stuck. A friend of mine was in labor for 46 hours with hers, who the head got stuck in her pelvis.
Yeah.
And they had to like
Did they vacuum him out?
No, she was at a midwife. And so they had to like reach in and reposition baby.
Oh,
but,
I'm sure
like
that was great.
With cows.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So, but any, stuff like that, there's all sorts of things that could have happened. And obviously wasn't the cleanest because the person who, I can't remember. Well, when somebody said, hey, maybe we should wash our instruments and wash our hands, he got laughed at.
Yeah.
Until it started taking death rates of surgical procedures down. So, yeah.
One thing I put in my notes that I'm not sure we wanted to talk about is the smallpox epidemic, because I don't really feel like that's brought up much.
Yeah, I thought that was not really in the reveal weird at all. That Steve is like, for some reason they said, the guy he's talking to,
Bob Gillis.
Well, there was this, Bob Gillis, a historian. There's a smallpox epidemic, and I'm like, that was like 20 years later. That it had nothing to do with these children dying.
Actually, it was way before.
Was it?
Way before.
It was 130 years. It was December 1751.
Okay.
Yep. The bumper came to town and ran aground.
So
kids came tumbling after. Yeah. Just kidding. That's not. I just made that up. But they talked, and it's never referenced again. The only thing what
Amy saw.
No, the only thing Amy talked about was she talked about people running. I see all of these men running up. They're all dying and they're all scared. But that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. It was
she
like
did talk about a bunch of children. Didn't she talk about a bunch of children ghosts? And then the lady was saying, I killed them. And then a man said to her, no, she didn't kill them. But that would have been not the right time. That would have been the kid anyway.
That would have been the other. It wouldn't have been the smallpox, because they were all men.
Right.
Yeah. No,
not all men, but
yeah.
Hashtag not all men.
Not all men.
Yeah. And this one was the ship ran aground.
Yeah.
And then he needed to get everything off the ship, but his crew was sick. So trying to contain it, he brought townspeople in.
Yeah.
Because
that makes sense.
That works.
That's how it works.
7,500 people were infected and 569 died.
I just said it feels kind of ironic. Epidemic, pandemic, tomato.
Yeah. And then Steve said, that's a scumbag move. You didn't feel that way about
about Cheeto Man, did you? Your favorite. Great.
Cheetos.
Anyway.
I do like Cheetos.
Oh,
so does Jordan. Okay, and then we get to our gruesome murder. So we get to Lieutenant, and I don't know how to say his name. They never said his name.
They didn't. I think it's I would say Prasniewski.
Prasniewski.
Prasniewski is how I would say it.
Really great. And they were talking about how these people they were fishing or something.
It was young boys that were fishing, and they found a suitcase in the river.
And I said, never open anything you find ever.
Yeah.
A bag, a suitcase, a barrel.
I'm picturing these kids being like 10.
Yeah. I picture like Stand By Me.
I know, but I'm just saying, don't open anything.
Oh, boys will do all sorts of dumb shit.
Oh my God,
One thing that was interesting about this episode is it felt like there was a lot of stuff from history that is unfortunately still relevant today.
Exactly.
And this whole story
is. This, okay, so we have Susanna what was her name? Gary. She was a 20-year-old dancer originally from Massachusetts, and she was in Boston. And picture from the newspaper was 1905, and Steve says she's a pretty girl.
She's relegated to being a pretty girl.
I said that. I hate that, because it's like, it doesn't make the crime worse or better that somebody's pretty or not pretty. It doesn't matter. So can we stop saying it? So prepare yourself, everybody, because
this is where it gets.
She becomes pregnant, and she's not married.
Clutch your pearls,
everybody. And I wrote, gasp, the biggest sin of all. Her and her boyfriends, who really decided that a baby was not right for them at this time and would slow their careers.
I mean, to be fair, I know we want to be super critical here and that he was making the choice, but she was also a dancer and that's how she made money.
That's true.
It's
the only
true,
reason I thought it wasn't her idea or that she only went along with it because he wanted to is because her spirit is so sad about it.
I think her spirit's so sad because of what happened overall in the whole thing. And if you could do it again. But
Amy says she's so sad because she lost a child. Yeah. So she goes, and it's 1905, everybody. So abortions are illegal. They're still illegal in some places. Neither here nor there. So she...
Actually, it's right here, right there. I don't mean right here in Minnesota. I just mean
120 years later, and nothing has changed.
And we're still fucking around with this.
Yep. So they decide to get an abortion, and illegal abortion. So they find a doctor to do it. It doesn't go well because, of course, it doesn't. And she developed septicemia and peritonitis.
Peritonitis.
Yeah. So Steve...
Itis is inflammation of, peri is around, so whatever. So probably around the womb, she had an inflammation, an infection.
And to all this, I said, interesting. It's almost like we should make abortions legal so that they can be done safely and ensure the mother survives.
Oh, that's an amazing idea, Megan.
I should really bring
You should make a post about that or something. Maybe somebody should take notice.
So basically, she dies. And then, so she gets this infection, goes back to the doctor. There's another procedure they do. That doesn't go well. To fix the first one.
I talked to my mom about this a little bit because she was watching the episode with me because I was like, well, it's sepsis. So septicemia is sepsis.
Sepsis, yeah.
Which is it's an infection, can be a blood infection, but it's an infection. It wasn't, they probably didn't use clean hands and clean tools, right?
Right.
And so go back to our leeches talk of earlier, like, why didn't they just do some bloodletting? Because that's what they fix everything with.
I wrote, get the demons out of her blood with the leeches.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I mean, from what my mom said, it's like maybe they try to cut or scrape away the infection depending on where it might have been. And they could have ruptured a clot or something else could have ruptured they could have cut too deep and she could have been too far gone because more than likely, like, we hear that she was very sickly like coming in. She already was rather skinny. So
she was a dancer.
She was probably if you watch Dirty Dancing at all with, I can't remember the dancer's name, but she gets sick after having an abortion in the movie, right? And
it took me like 20 years to understand that I did not understand what happened in that movie until I was an adult. I did not understand that she had gotten an abortion and it went bad.
So think of that, but times like 50.
Yeah.
Is most likely how poor Susanna was when she came in there.
So she died. And because this was an illegal abortion, the doctors were like, fuck, what do? We weren't supposed to do this in the first place. So their brilliant move was to cut her body up and put it in the river. Because that's the way to get it out.
As you do.
Yes.
Yep.
So
I mean, that's what Robert Durst did.
You guys,
not after abortion, but
they probably cut her stomach, like the actual stomach organ.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right.
The thing I looked up said that peritonitis, which they didn't even talk about
because it's
in the show.
They
said it's a redness or swelling, inflammation of the lining of your belly or abdomen. The lining is called the peritoneum. It's often caused by an infection from a hole in the bowel or a burst appendix. You must seek medical help right away.
Yeah. So when they hacked her, they hacked into the
something they weren't supposed to.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, they killed her. Yep. And then they cut her up.
Yeah.
To dispose of her because they didn't want to get in trouble because abortion was illegal.
Yep. So let's just cut her up and put her into suitcases that then children go and find.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't worry. They don't face any charges.
Oh yeah.
Great. No.
If you're worried about these guys that chopped her up and don't worry about them at all.
They're fine.
Good. I was concerned.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I noted was really interesting is that they didn't post because they didn't have the internet, but they published pictures that were, I was like, the picture that they have is not super bad, but if you look at other pictures that were printed in the paper, a lot of alliteration there. I didn't even do that on purpose. It's amazing.
Yeah.
What was printed in newspapers back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
It was.
I mean, you see like the mob hits, they show the bodies, they show the blood.
Yep. I saw that when I was researching for Volstead Land.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Completely shot up in their car, were literally like paraded around town.
Yep. It's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, as AP said, the people that helped the doctor dispose of Suzanne's body were convicted and they were sent to penitentiary for 7 years. But the doctor was charged, but he was acquitted. So thank God.
Yep. And I found an article, I dug a little into this, and I found an article that said that it was actually a woman doctor who performed, I can't remember if it
were
was
women allowed to be doctors at that point in time, or just midwives?
She maybe wasn't a doctor, but she is, it said the person that performed the abortion was a woman named Mary S. Dean, but Dr. Percy is the one that dismembered her. So all interesting that never came up in that.
Would be abuse of a corpse, honestly, like if he didn't kill her.
Yeah. He might have, unless it was to work on her
overseeing, but he might have been overseeing it all too.
Oh, yeah.
He could have been.
So who knows? But Amy, I appreciate that you put down like, why don't we talk about why he wasn't acquitted? Like, Amy, but he was a man.
Yeah.
and she was a lowly girl who happened to get pregnant.
And I said unwed.
She got herself in trouble.
She was unwed. It was her fault.
Yep.
What was she wearing?
Obviously.
Was she drinking?
She probably showed her ankles.
Probably even her wrists. That's how you really get them going, is you show the wrists. So then Amy does the sketch, and she sketches the woman who jumped her, that she experienced all the pain from. So now we're on to segment 3. The reveal. 3. Did we have anything else we wanted to touch on in segment 2?
Nope.
I don't think so. I had some stuff, but it's not that important, and we're getting close to time, so
okay.
We should just skip along.
So now we're at the reveal, and Amy's struggling at the beginning. She's really like, on my walk, I was jumped by a female and became ill. And then Steve reaches over and is like, it's really hard for her to get jumped. It's not easy. I feel bad for her. And I said, why couldn't Steve stay like this?
I know.
He is so
I started crying
empathetic.
when he reached over and touched her and like was patting her back. I was like, oh my God, Steve, you cared about her at one point.
Yeah. And he's like, you can hear it in his voice. He's like, I hate this for her. Like, it is like really hard for her. What happened to that Steve?
Yeah.
Can we bring him back? No, he's dead.
He's gone.
Why? Because the old Taylor's dead. That's what it was. A Swift reference.
I got it.
Thank you, millennials unite. So then Amy talks about the getting jumped by the young woman and how she was very skinny for someone who was pregnant. And so she talks about how sad Amy talks about how sad the spirit is because she lost her baby. And then that's when Steve like, well, this sounds familiar. Well, does it, Steve? Does it sound familiar?
He does. She does also say that at this point, she just wanted to take a gun.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
when she's so during the walk, she's like, if I was this person, I would have just taken a gun to my head.
Yep.
It's like, it is so
awful.
Overwhelming. And I have never experienced child loss, but I told my mom once, if Jordan ever died, like, I don't think I would want to live.
Yeah.
I don't think I would, because I can't imagine the pain of that.
Yeah. Well, and this woman was completely destroyed by mankind. And there is, what if it all went right? Abortion went right, and she didn't have that. She may not have had the same may still have had some sadness. That's why there's a lot of counseling in things. But maybe because of how traumatic everything was and how sick she got, it just continued to amplify
her pain. And, you know, even for people who want an abortion, like it's still, I can't imagine a tough choice. Like,
yeah, it's still not fun.
It's not fun.
No,
I would think. I've never had one, but when I left my ex, I had money set aside. So if I found out I was pregnant, I would have had one to avoid being tied to him.
Exactly.
But
a lot of women do that.
That should be available, and the fact that it's not is really shitty.
Yeah.
Cannot emphasize how upset we are over that. So then Amy's like, well, I had a sketch done of what I saw, and they pull her out, and the sketch, not the girl. And
it's like
I have her in my back pocket.
Here, she's in my pocket. Come on out.
But the sketch I thought was really, I thought it was spot on. Like I could see the similarities.
Yeah, they could.
The eyes were the same.
I wrote down earlier that the way Amy described her was doe-eyed.
Yeah.
And that is very much, you can see that in the actual picture, and you can see that in the drawing as well.
Sketch, yeah.
Yep. The eyes are the same. The nose is the same. The mouth would be the same if she was smiling. But in the sketch, she's not because she's so sad. And again, Steve goes, I got a picture of her. She's a pretty girl too. And I said, I hate this. It doesn't make the crime any better or worse.
I think it's one of those old guy things that's like, I'm going to try and give her a compliment by saying she's pretty.
But we don't talk about, like, when he takes out a picture of one of the guys, he doesn't go, well, he's a handsome young man.
He's a handsome guy. Yeah, no.
So play it the same way.
It's
exactly. Yeah.
But I think we kind of end there with this woman. Like it's horrible, but then we get to the elderly bitch.
Yeah.
It's a really good word. Amy said, I see this elderly woman. She's filled with resentment, hatred, and bitterness. One of the things that she expressed was that she absolutely disdains humanity. And then Amy took a picture of Steve with his head in his hands, ring shot. And I'm like, yeah, that's about how we all feel.
Yeah.
There were several times in this reveal where like his face was dead on for whatever Amy was talking about. And it's like, yep, she nailed it.
Yep.
He used to be in awe of her. Yes. It makes me so sad because this Steve and current Steve, two different people.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened. I do know what happened, but it makes me so sad because like Amy said, he was in awe of her.
Yeah.
He like respected her and he was continuously like shocked and awed by what she did.
Yeah.
And maybe he just saw it so much that he lost that. I don't know. But the way he is at the beginning of the show and the way he treats her, it just slips.
Yeah. It seems to have done that.
And it's really sad.
But going back to the episode, I will say Amy's face throughout this whole time when they're talking about the mother and how much she hated her daughter is just like, she's just like in shock.
She even asked Cynthia, like, did you feel abused as a child? And Cynthia's like, oh, absolutely. I will say, Amy, I love her facial expressions. Like, you know what's going on up here because it is here.
She'd be a terrible poker player.
I know. But because she's like, wow. Like, she's just so, I just love her so much.
Yep.
But yeah, like AP said, she was just completely in shock that a mother could treat.
Well, because then we hear from Cynthia because like Steve pulls out the picture, asks Amy, could this be her? She's like, yeah, but she's definitely older when I'm seeing her. And then Cynthia talks about why she bought the house and when she got the papers and her mom left her a voicemail. Now she tells us that the voicemail said things like, you stole the effing house. You don't give a fuck about what I think. Fuck you. Fuck everyone. Basically, she says, use your imagination. And I had an aunt that was a little bit like this. She passed away years ago, but probably similar to Nathaniel in a way, like was never diagnosed with anything because my grandma refused to, at that time in the 60s, to allow her to be diagnosed with anything.
Right. Well, we didn't talk about it.
Also,
No,
they never tested women for any stuff like that. It was only tested
well,
boys.
she would have just been put into a home
Probably.
of some sort. She was definitely a vulnerable adult. But when she lived with my grandparents all her life, and when they passed away, like she couldn't hold a job, she couldn't do anything, and so my uncle had purchased the house for my grandparents a while ago, or a while prior to that, to make sure they didn't have to take on the payments when my grandpa passed, I think, to make sure my grandma didn't have to take on the payments. And then he eventually had to sell the house, and my aunt was pissed. You stole my house. You stole everything. She wrote him off after that. Like, one by one, she started writing all of us off for something. Not near like this. She had a good heart and a good soul, but the problem was she could tell you, Amy, one story, Megan, she could tell you another story, and she could tell me another story, all about the same thing, but believe every single version.
Every single one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I just connected a little bit to that, but definitely nowhere near what this woman was. Just, I could draw a line.
Yeah.
And the stress that goes into having to help with a lot of different things.
So now Amy said, all I know is that the woman I met repressed a lot of stuff that did not really give a fuck about anybody. And Nicholas goes, sounds right. Yeah.
Yep.
Nailed it.
So then Amy said, what she's doing. Steve goes, what is she doing on her house? And Amy said, nothing good. She wants to scare people. And then she said she wants to cause like a huge accent. So I wrote accent here. Insert accent here. So she says also this woman likes to enter people's nightmares and create them.
Yeah.
And
cool.
I mean,
and I noted that Steve nearly jumped out of his chair.
Yeah, it was.
And she said that because he was connecting that to the nightmares that they've had.
And then Cynthia said, last night I had one. I had a parachute jump go wrong. She's like, I've also had boating accident nightmares. And
it's like the mom is believing this. You remember, we've all been told that if you die in your dreams, you die for real.
Yes.
It's like she bellies that.
Yeah. And she's trying to make it happen.
If I can kill her in her dream, then she's out of my way.
Right.
Because like we said, that's her goal. She wants Cynthia gone. So bitch, that's your fucking daughter.
I know.
Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. And then Steve said, you mentioned it can get physical. And then they show a picture of Nathaniel and his scratch.
I thought you were going to say they show a picture of Olivia Newton-John.
They should have. Honestly.
Yeah.
Physical.
But this whole thing is just getting hard on everyone. And then Amy comes in and is like, yeah, so she wants to strangle you. And
just FYI.
And then, Steve like throws his head into his hands.
Yeah.
Like, this is heavy for everyone in the room.
Yeah.
But I feel like Nicholas at one point just is feeling almost vindicated at the fact of like, kind of like, I knew it. He doesn't say he thought it was her, but it's almost like, well, I kind of figured. I figured something was going on. Because obviously, as we said, they tried to get rid of demons, but it wasn't a demon. So therefore,
well, it wasn't really, sense, but
it wasn't.
Actual, yeah.
It wasn't a entity that was not a living person at some point in time.
It wasn't going to work because,
yeah.
But I mean, this like, Cynthia has to leave because she feels so sick because basically Amy's like, yeah, she wants to kill you and then go after Nathaniel.
And she said, finding out your mother wants to kill you.
Your child and go after your child.
I just can't.
And then Amy said, I definitely got the sense that she would go after him big time. Like, and then that's when Cynthia says, I feel so sick. And then she had to get up and take a break. And this was a really heavy reveal. Like, I don't think we've seen reveals this heavy. They're seen few and far between.
Heavy, but in different ways. Because this one was a family thing. Yeah. But, at one point, I mean, Amy, towards the end here, we know, like, when Amy asked if she was abused as a kid and all that stuff. And then Amy says, I mean, does she really feel like you guys just ruined her life or what? Cynthia goes, yeah, she had a hot temper for sure. Lady, she had more than a hot temper.
Yeah, not a hot temper.
Like, I love how sweet, but this is also that abuse, like the abuse that happened to Cynthia all of her life has made her have to defend
for her.
Yeah, she's defending
she's
her
made
mother.
Excuses for her,
you know, and
her
she's
whole life.
Even though she knows exactly what happened. So, Cynthia,
it's just been ingrained
I hope
in
you're
her.
free.
Yeah,
I hope so too. Oh.
So then now we're like, well, can they? So we're gonna have to know. Can you stay here or can you go? And so Amy said the first thing you have to do is deal with the woman who's very sad. This is Susanna. So you're gonna have to get a mental medium. And so she explains a mental medium is a type of medium that does not feel the individual's death, like Amy. So Amy is not a mental medium. She's a physical medium.
Mm-hmm.
So Steve said, well, what is this mental medium going to do? And then Amy's like, just talk to her. Over 2 days, they're going to be talking to her about, her telling the story to help her move on. Because that's all she wants is to tell her story, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the mom. Do we even know her name? Did they ever tell us her name?
No.
Good. She doesn't deserve to.
She doesn't get a name.
She doesn't get a name. It's like when True Crime Obsessed, when they talk about murderers, they don't name them. They call them the killer.
Yeah.
Because they don't get their name to be told.
Right.
So what to do? This is really interesting. And I don't think I've ever seen her give this advice before or since. Is to write her a letter.
Mm-hmm.
And in the letter, Cynthia is going to tell her mom what she is no longer allowed to do. She can't control you, your home, your family, your dreams. She's taking back power and control of your home. And then she'll have a physical medium come and you, meaning Cynthia, and the physical medium are going to deal with her. And then I want you to read your letter. I want you to yell, just scream at her, finish what you write. And then when you're done, the medium will get rid of her. And then that will move her on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Amy really went hard on this, as what we talked about with Cynthia. She's been defending her mom, not defending, but she's been making excuses for her mom.
Because it's been ingrained in her. It's not her
Amy
fault.
tells her, you are going to freaking yell at her. You are not going to stop. I don't care if you feel like you're going to throw up. I don't care if you feel like something's going to happen to you. You need to finish. And she hammers that point home.
Mm-hmm.
So then what happens?
So they do everything. Cynthia and Nicholas followed all of Amy's advice. The activity has decreased significantly, and everyone is back to sleeping in their own bedrooms.
Yes.
Right? So I really am glad. I hope they're doing okay because, this was they were so scared for their son. Like, even Nicholas said, this is a last resort. And I don't think he would have called them in if it hadn't been for Nicholas.
Yep.
Yeah.
He almost was like the skeptic person, but not a dick about it. Like, I'm calling you in because this is our last resort. We've done the priests, we've done the blessings, and it's not working. And I'm scared for my son.
Yeah. And as one of you noted, the reason the priest blessings and stuff didn't work is that she wasn't a demon. She was just a lady who probably
bitch.
Probably didn't believe in all that stuff anyway. So
no, or she did and just found a way that she could control everything, because that is also often what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is very sad. And I will say it again. Not everybody is meant to be a parent.
Exactly.
And that doesn't make you a bad person.
Yep. Not like this lady. Yeah.
But for other reasons.
Right.
But if you don't want to have kids, that's fine.
Don't
have kids.
Just good episode, Megan. Good choice.
Yeah.
Yes, choice. This was a real. I didn't even know it when I picked it. I'm like,
and then
Massachusetts accents.
Same with the one that Amy and I covered a couple weeks ago. That was a good one. So hopefully the next one will be.
I don't think I watched that one because wasn't there? I don't think I watched that one.
You've got a bug in your room or a ghost?
Okay,
it's a bug.
It's flying around.
Yeah, that was a tough one because this one had a lot of child death too, but a little different.
For some reason, it's easier for me when it's in the history.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's
Yeah.
still a baby that died. Like this person. I don't know how this woman kept going when she lost so many children.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
And it was like all so close.
Yeah.
And they were so like 3 months, 2 months,
Yeah.
1 day.
Yeah.
Like
Crazy.
2 of them died the same day.
Yeah.
2 babies
That's
died
tough.
March 21st, 1885.
Yeah. That's ugh. Yikes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So on that note,
thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
mhm.
Now AP is going to tell us what we're doing next.
Yeah. Next week, so we'll be releasing the sideshow episode where we've done all of our chatting. So catch us there. But the next recap episode we're doing is my choice. And I chose this one forever ago because I've been wanting to cover this one as it's the only Alaska episode that's out there. And it happened in season 1, potentially episode 21. But it's called Arctic Wrath. So, this one could be really interesting. I'm sure because of travel abilities and the limitations to Alaska and that sort of stuff, probably ran into some of those issues. But Alaska is a pretty cool place and fun. It is intended on that. But join me with a chilled hot chocolate next week. Chilled or frozen hot chocolate.
Just a chocolate milk?
No. Have you never had a frozen hot chocolate?
No.
Well, there's a recipe in
I see that. I'm gonna have to make.
We should make them and have it while we're recording.
That's why I put it in there.
I got real excited when we were choosing this because I was like, oh my God, there's an Alaskan one. And I was like, that's what I'm doing. And then I'm like,
no, that.
Nope, that's the one Amy's doing.
Yes. So. Yep. And there are different recipes for frozen hot chocolates out there, but it's basically blending milk, chocolate chips, ice together.
No beans.
No beans.
No beans for hot chocolate.
No beans.
But thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you later. Bye.
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 Thank you for listening to the Activity Continues podcast. We really appreciate you giving us your ears for a bit. Please feel free to drop us a note and say hi. And join us next time when the activity continues.
Nailed it.
This is just a disclaimer and sort of warning about this podcast. The Activity Continues podcast is in no way affiliated with the Dead Files, its production company, or any of its distributors. We are simply fans that love the show and love to talk about it and dissect it and, yes, make fun of it. But we do love it. And all of the opinions expressed herein are ours alone and have nothing to do with the Dead Files or any of its cast, crew, production, or distributors. And we swear. Enjoy.